Okay. Hello, everyone. We'll wait a couple more minutes for people to join in and then we can start. Yeah. Just let me take a picture of live. Okay. Okay, cool. So we can start slowly. I see people gathering in. So we have people on YouTube in communities listening live. And yeah, for next 45 minutes, 1 hour, depending on how many questions we have, right? Maybe shorter than that. Yeah, last time we had a lot of questions. So of course I moved it just 1 hour before since we have a couple of meetings afterwards. So yeah, sorry for changing the time for the live. Um, I see some questions already gathering in. Hi everyone, if you're for the first time with me live, this will be a weekly or bi-weekly live where we discuss different topics on AI. Maybe I'll have some agenda. Generally, people will join in asking questions regarding AI, their implementation, and just asking something that might bother them in that time, right? So this is a place where if I know, I can potentially answer and help you come up with the answer for yourself or your company. Okay, cool. So let's get started for today. Hi, John. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining in today. Hi, Milosh. Marco is here as well. Nice. Thanks so much. Okay, so the first question for today is, what's the best way to introduce AI in a company without freaking everybody out? We have some folks excited about it, well, some others skeptical or fearful. And how do we get the buy-in? That's a great question. And I don't know if we had a similar questions last time, but generally, um, that is like I think the biggest pain point of most successful implementations of AI today. The goal is simple. You have a certain AI, like a product or a service or solution that you want to include for your employees. So you have like customers that you would like to use, that you would like them to use this AI, right? And the adoption is generally where it lacks. And adoption can have, like, a lack of adoption can be for many different reasons. It's not only like they are fearful, right? But that is a biggest one of the biggest drivers right now. And I would say it's not only expected, but I would say is justified because many media outlets are promoting AI as a thing that will disrupt everybody and everything immediately without any transition period. Now, that might be a half true. The only thing where I would say uh, they're not transferring as a real information is that this transition period only depends on us humans. So you will have companies where they will work with their employees to have this transition period pretty smooth, right? And optimized, where some other will just cut everybody out and just proceed with automations immediately. I wouldn't say both are like they both have merits. Um, my always I'm always on the transitional side. And the biggest thing is most managers today that are giving those kind of a immediate action or immediate disruption, they don't have all the insights of what AI can do for their companies. So they are just relying on the external motivations or external information that AI can suddenly do all of these things, and I'm going to implement that in our company. So, of course, because of all of those kind of not unknown variables on the market, people are justified to have like some worries. So yeah, I would say that is one thing, that where the fear comes from. Then on the next thing is the any change in the company needs to have change management. And change management needs to happen from the top, not from the employees that are going to be influenced in the day-to-day life, but from the top. Why I'm saying this? Because I mentioned just now that many managers don't really know what AI is or what the AI can achieve currently. Yes, all these companies and leaders, like executives that are solely relying on AI as a profit or a revenue stream, like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google to extend, Microsoft, all these companies are tech companies where their executives need to say those things because they are selling the future and the expectation and promise of their companies and technologies, um, to the potential investor. So that's how they earn their bread and how they earn their place in the marketplace, right? So having all of those, um, having all of those at one place, and then listening only them, these managers that are not relying on AI to drive their profits, but to help boost certain KPI in the business, is actually where these companies or these managers are making the biggest mistake. Listening to them that are solely relying on this term and solely relying on this technology to drive any sorts of revenue is not the same as for company that will just use AI to write emails faster, to expand to increase the customer support quality. So all of these will help your business, but they will not disrupt the whole company, right? That's what I'm saying. Now, yes, AI will help more and more people in the future. We'll have more and more places in the marketplace as we grow this technology onwards. But I would say this is where where you need to have a kind of a barrier between decision makers and just media. You need to educate yourselves if you're an executive, knowing what this technology actually is and what can be. Not listening to these executives that are solely relying on media coverage to drive investors to invest in their company and their profit and in their technology over some competitors. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is, even if you can change a certain like sector or a certain team or a certain vertical, I don't know, inside of your company right now with AI, doesn't mean that you can immediately do it, right? So you have a transition period. You need to test it out. I have many cases where people will just fire most of developers saying, hey, AI can write the software amazingly right now. Let's just use AI with less people. Now, to some extent, AI can write software. That's completely true. But having like all of that uh, immediately immediately align with your business is actually where you have a risk. So you need to have a transitional period so you actually can adapt all these changes with the current people or people that you are planning to have inside the company after the change. So that transitional period needs to be there. Also, the transitional period can be helping your current employees be faster and more effective with the technology that we currently have, not completely replacing them. So I would say that's my kind of a more broader answer to this question. Having all of this information in the place, educating yourself with the right resources, not only media coverages, is the place to be. And then when you have a proper change management in place, do transitional period for all of your employees, plus proper change management where you educate them on AI as well. Okay, and that's how you will increase the adoption. Not guarantee adoption, but increase the percentage of adoption. Okay, we have a couple more people joining in. Hello, everyone. We have new chat. Why is it so good? Why is it good to learn NA10 workflow and how to implement AI in them? Okay, and it would be great how to know how to start. Should I try to copy others or something else? Thank you for the question. Great question. Okay, so for people that doesn't know, NA10 is a software for building automation or workflows in general. It doesn't have to be automation directly, and doesn't have to be AI directly. NA10 can not automate, but create workflows for many different program situations, similar to Zapier. Okay, and recently, because of AI and because of all the integrations for many angles, they actually created many already pre-filled templates for AI automation, and that's where people started using NA10 to uh, create pretty nice automations for their businesses. Okay, so I would say that first of all, many people will say that NA10 is a simple software. It's not. It can be as simple as you know how to use it. I know people that they can build crazy automations right there if they are professional enough with NA10. But you can also be as simple as just connecting a couple of tools. And I would always suggest just like using online version for very beginning and experimenting with it for the for the first couple of times and breaking as many workflows as possible. Just test it out. Okay. Um, and that's how I would start experiment wise. Now, the biggest thing is, and I'm going to touch upon the integration in a bit, but learning about NA10, you have many different courses online, and NA10 by itself has two layers or two levels of education as well. One is a basic one and the advanced one, and both are amazing courses. They are on YouTube, so you can completely free listen to those courses and learn how to use this software. And you asked, should you try to copy others? And my answer there is yes, of course, legally. Don't claim that you did something if you didn't, and you just copied somebody else's solution. But when you started back in the day, when you started learning programming, you had something called shadow programming, where you, for the very beginning, you will start just rewriting a software which somebody has already written in the past, and you would just follow along a certain video or a certain course, and that's how you get your hands in for the very beginning, where kind of the scariest part for any beginner in any software is the blank piece of paper. So starting out is a really scary thing. So copying somebody at the beginning is actually providing you with a nice feeling where you don't have to start from that scratch, but you are actually starting from somebody's experience and building on top of it. So yes, I would definitely suggest copying others. Of course, not claiming that it's your work, but just using their experience to build on top of it afterwards. Now, for any type of automations and workflow automations, the biggest challenge is integrating that into existing business or existing process. Okay, So everybody starts saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna automate this process and stuff like that." And from a technical perspective, you can do it with NA10 or any other software. It doesn't have to be NA10, but the biggest challenge there is a business side. Most companies don't have the processes documented in a right and a structured way. You don't have many information out there for other employees to use, even for AI to actually build on top of it. And then integrating that inside of that process is where the challenge begins. So my suggestion is always start from the business, seeing how that automation will lay on top of everything that you currently have as a starting point, and then go from there. Thanks. Many layers in the question. Okay, so we have a couple of questions in here as well. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, the next question is, what's the best way to introduce AI to a company without freaking everybody out? Okay, we have some folks. Oh, okay, that is the same question as before. Okay, we already answered that. The next question is, are there any cases where using AI is not the right solution? How do we identify problems where a simple approach would work better than AI? I love this question. Okay. Whenever I start consulting any company, doesn't matter the size, most companies will leave meeting with me knowing that they don't need AI. Okay. So needing AI is, I would say, last resort. Now, of course, if you want AI for marketing purposes, that's a different story. Then you just should burn money. Please don't call me. And yeah, do it on your own without consulting external teams. Okay, so I would say like this: AI is nothing but the technical approach to solving some challenges. These challenges can come from bottom up to the top bottom approach, anywhere from the company, external, internal, market dictated, internally dictated, right? And that's where AI should be applied to solve a problem. But where many companies fail to realize is they are applying AI to apply AI, and they will fail immediately at the very beginning of that thought. Because you shouldn't apply AI to have AI. AI should come naturally as a potential solution. And that's why I'm saying thank you so much for the question. Now, whenever you start thinking about the problem, and you should always start thinking about the problem itself and saying, okay, we have these and these challenges or these and these problems, list them out, and then look at them objectively and say, okay, so we have these challenges. The ideal solution is this. How should we measure if we reach that solution? So you set some KPIs. And all of this is done for the business, not technical. Now, you know where you want to be, you know what is the current state, you know how to measure that you actually reach the goal. So all of this should be defined up front. And it's normal, like business view, right? So when you start thinking like that, then you are objectively not even thinking about how should we, like, I'm not proposing to sit in the car and drive to the end goal, or to sit in a bus, or use airplane. I'm just saying that you need to reach that destination. We are not speaking about the method right now, but that's where most companies fail to realize. They are immediately starting with the premise that they need a car or they need an airplane. Why should you go from one city to like a city really close by with an airplane where you can use the car? But you must know that you need to get to that city, right? So people will say, "Oh, I want to drive an airplane," which is fine. That can be a goal, and it can be a goal to use AI. But don't expect that in those cases you will have ROI, because your goal was to use AI. So you succeed by default if you just start using AI in your business. Okay, so now that we have that now that you started from the business, let's go step back and then say, okay, we have all. Then you start mapping out all the how to move from point A to point B, and you can name all the things, all the methods that are available in the market. You can go by foot, you can go by motorbike, you can use a car, you can use a bus, plane, train, and so on. Now, all of these are valid solutions. And then you say, okay, if I go with a plane, which would be amazing, but it would cost me $10,000. But if I use a car, it will cost me just $100. So I'm gonna reach the point B either way, but then I'm gonna use the car because, of course, I'm gonna save more than $9,000. Right? So that's where the business mapping comes in. If you have your destination in mind, you will start thinking about hows later on, and that's where the technical guys can help and understand if it's feasible to use all the possible solutions to solve that problem. For example, if you um, if you need to automate some kind of email sending, maybe a simple table can do can justify the solution. You have all the names, you can just plug them in the mail and just send them out. But if you need a customized email every single time, of course, one solution would be to write by hand. And if you have maybe 100 mails, maybe it's easy just to use a person to write all of those yourself, for example, right? But if you have 100,000 mails, well, that will take a lot of time. So it's still feasible to use a person, but it becomes unjustifiable, right? So in that case, you will immediately go with a certain automation in place where AI can jump in. AI is not cheap, and AI is an amazing approach to solving a problem if it actually has a cost versus benefit reward. So if you need to go from Europe to US, using a car will not be a great solution. So that's where the plane comes in. In that case, if you have any type of not structural data, images, text, videos, audio, even a set of tables that are changing constantly, AI is an amazing fit. But if you go away from it and say, okay, I have a problem that is constant, that is a simple one, that can be solved with a simple set of mapping out, well, do not apply AI and go with a simple one. Yeah, thanks. What's your opinion about no code programs? Is there too much hype, or you find it really useful? That's a good question. Um, I personally don't use no code tools that much. I generally code most of the stuff, which might be wrong. I don't know. Will see that in the future. Um, but they have their own place. They unlock opportunities for people that don't have the coding skills to start making something out and express their creativity. They are really useful for prototyping. They can help clients express their ideas much more much easier and more visually pleasing than than just with the words in the meaning, right? So all of these tools have their own place in the economy. Are they going to be completely adopted in the future? I don't know. I think there will always be set of no code tools or vibe coding tools, and on top of it, like a full custom solutions where you will have AIs plus humans to realize the solution in both cases, I would say. Um, but yeah, of course, all of these tools can be a great companion to reach a certain point. I didn't find any of the tools that can justify going from the 0 to 1 and then just staying there without any change. My good friend recently made, without knowing any programming, a great real estate platform. Um, and it is a great tool at the beginning, but they had a lot of problems with the security, with with the general data protection. So these kind of nuances are still missing from these no-code tools. So you will need extra hand to push that to the 1, right? So you can use these tools to reach 0.7 or 0.8, and then that extra should happen from somebody that can actually go in the code and solve those problems. Yeah, cool. Uh, Thanks. The next question is: I hear a lot of terms in like machine learning AI, deep learning, LLMs, generative AI. Okay, cool. Um, can you explain them just to know the difference? Yeah, of course. uh, I think had somebody ask similar question last time, so I'm going to try to match what I said last time. But if I didn't, please you can watch both of the answers, right? So I would say like this: AI is an umbrella. AI is a uh, whole industry, and it it provides a subset of solutions under computer science where they have multiple solutions. Like computer science has a lot of approaches, and AI is just the one subsection of that. And they are gathering under that umbrella all solutions that are trying to mimic human intelligence. Or let's be more objective in saying any type of automation or any type of um, reaching to a conclusion from data, it can be abstracted to be a part of AI as a whole industry. Now, today we call AIs like we have these ChatGPT, they have like a Gemini, we have Claude, we have, and then people will call these AIs. I think that's a wrong statement. All of these are just algorithms or products that are really small if we just watch as a grand scheme of things what is AI as an industry. And AI is an industry, not a single product or products. Yes, it's much easier and more marketable to call these AIs. I have a bunch of AIs working for me. No, you have a bunch of algorithms to work that are working for you to do whatever, right? Machine learning. Okay, AI basically had many different approaches. It had something. The AI started by having like a set of rules. And if you had a meme online where you had a ghost and Scooby Doo, and then they will just reveal something below it and saying, "Oh my God, this is AI," and then reveal. Then you have if else and so on. Not far from true, because those systems, the first version of systems, were called rule-based systems. Rule-based systems would abstract human decisions to a set of rules where you would say, if this happens, what I'm going to do this, and so on. So you would have these decision intelligence systems where you would have a bunch of decisions to drive to a certain conclusion, right? Then we abstracted that even further and said, okay, but we needed more abstract decisions to be made. Let's follow some humans and how they perform these tasks. And that's where you had the first versions of expert systems. And the first version of expert system was way back in 1950s, where you had the first kind of a locomotive system where when locomotive would go to the station, uh, then they would use the expert system. I forgot the name, but basically it was a system where you had a set of rules, but followed by a human intelligence encoded in the program, just to follow and see what's good and what's not, and does some part of this system needs to be repaired. Locomotive, right? So that's how it started. Then we said, okay, cool, but these systems are limited. If we had some changes, if something like a new happens, what if new train comes by? These systems might not be scalable. So long story short, you had planning algorithms, you had a bunch of these like Roombas. If you have Roomba running around your home, well, most likely it is a rule-based system where they will just use external sensors to follow certain patterns inside of your home. Then we had machine learning. Machine learning is something where we all live today, and it is ChatGPT, it is um, Gemini, it is all the AIs in the world that we call them today. It is machine learning, and it is under this family. Machine learning basically became a first approach where it adapts based on the data change. So any approach where you had the data and you had a goal and you wanted to reach the decision based on data, on the new data, to reach some decisions and goals. So that um, kind of a middle ground was the machine learning algorithm. So you would use data already labeled. So for example, you had a bunch of information about your employees, and you had all the information about their salaries, and you would train the algorithm and made the algorithm that takes all this information about all the employees to conclude what salary should be given to a new employee based on their similarity, basically, and pattern recognition on the old ones. Okay, so machine learning is just an approach under AI that maps out data to some outcomes that you like to have. That outcome can be a next word. It can be a turn. Should we turn left or right or go straight? And then you have a self-driving car. Or of course, I'm creating this to be the more easy than it is. But machine learning is that. Now, deep learning is a new kind of a fancier version of machine learning, where for the first time you had a term called neural networks. A neural network is nothing but the type of machine learning algorithm that tries to mimic the structure of the brain. Of course, not even close, but that is what it is. And the problem with the traditional machine learning, they were really rigid. They still learn from the data, but the decisions were black or white, some on the ground, and then you needed to tune a lot of things to make sure that it is scalable on the unseen data, which is the goal, right? Then deep learning said, okay, I need more sophisticated approach where you would give a bunch of data and you conclude some more robust information about this. It can be from images, it can be from text, audio, and so on. And way before LLMs, we worked with text like a sentiment analysis, POS, or part of speech tagging, or you had like a recognition of voice, which actually was signal processing to text. And then you had like a bunch of algorithms trained for that with a certain type of architecture. But that architecture become limit to a type of data. So people started experimenting with the longer sequences of text and data points like audio where it failed. We had back then a neural network called recurrent neural network, and then you tried with the LSTM or long short term network, LSTM memory network, yeah. And then all of those try to solve a problem where these algorithms forget beginning of the sentence or forget beginning of the song. So they said, okay, I need some type of attention where it actually can learn what information is important or not. And that's where the architecture called transformers comes by. And it was made by Google. And then they said, okay, this is a transformal type of neural network, still under deep learning, where they train them to start remembering longer sequences of text way back in 2017. And after that, they adapted more sophisticated versions of these transformers and trained them on the massive amounts of data, which you have first L, large. But then this massive data was text. And because we are predicted next word in the sequence, you have this LM or language model. So when we put this together, you had LLM or LLM, basically ChatGPT, the first version of this on the production scale, which is a deep learning under machine learning model that predicts the next word in a sequence. And that's what we have today. These models, because they generate the next word or next token or whatever, are called generative models because we have type of patterns that we learn from books and like blogs and stuff like that to generate similar stuff in the future. And that's where the generative part of generative AI comes in. So all the models and approaches that are generating type of information, it can be image, token, like a text, video, or anything else, serve this part of prediction where we are predicting next something based on the patterns we learned from the past, and those become, like, of course, generative AI. So yeah, that's it. I hope I explained. Yeah, thanks. uh, do you use LLMs just for coding or for something else, and do you just use your own prompts or you use the prompts you find on the internet? I never use prompts that I found on the internet. I have my own prompt library. So I'm using only prompts from my personal prompt library. I change it constantly based on the version of the model. So if they release ChatGPT 5, my models from the past would not work. So the prompts from the past would not work. So I would need to adapt them. And that's why I'm saving my own prompt library. But yeah, never from the internet. I did start using from the internet when I was learning about prompt engineering, but yeah, afterwards, no. Do you use LLMs for coding or something else? I use LLMs for all the kinds of stuff. So for coding, I'm using Claude, of course, and for Cursor to help me not only generate pieces of code, but ideas and help me like be faster in areas that I'm not familiar with a lot. So yeah, for prototyping, it's amazing. And for, of course, traditional LMs for ideas, for research, for summarization, for meetings, for checking out like a summary of the thread in emails or documents and uploading a bunch of documents and creating a presentation out to them, like all sorts of stuff like with text I'm using LLMs for. Yeah, thanks. Okay, we have a lot of manual tedious processes. How can AI improve our business process, and where do we even start? Okay. Whew. Okay. I don't know your business. I'll need to go more deep into your business and then learn about what is working, what's not, to actually give you personalized answer based on like what actually pains you right now. But I would say like this: don't start with something custom immediately. Start with something like a like a pre-made or LLM that is used as a like a try using Copilot, try using ChatGPT, try using and like a Claude. Start using these subscription-based services to help your employees or yourself be faster in what you currently do. Answer questions, answer emails, and so on. And this can get you pretty far, pretty fast without the like crazy investment upfront. And my suggestion is always start from there. The adoption should be at this level at the very beginning, and then you can start thinking about building something custom if you actually need. Most companies don't even need to build something custom or build like a proprietary models and stuff like that. They don't really need. You can use all of these that exist on the market. Yeah. So I would say start from there. The next step is, of course, where to look. Well, at the beginning, before you start looking, like you have two approaches. Um, like uh, my good friend says, you have horses and teleports. Horses are Tobias is my good friend. Horses is like an AI solution where actually gets you faster to a destination, and teleports will immediately change the whole process. That is much more difficult and needs to be custom in most of the cases. Never go with the teleports first, and most people will have a bunch of horses, be faster in what they do and how they do it, and they will be okay. So you don't need to invest in teleports if you don't want to, if you don't need. So my suggestion is this: try to look at the repetitive tasks at the beginning, see what takes a lot of time at a certain process. Do you have some waiting time for some reason, from one person to another? Do you have some bottlenecks in a sense of a team? Like, all those are great insights that you should have to start thinking about those bottlenecks for many reasons, and then try to unclog them with a certain AI solution. And those are horses. So it can be a subscription based solution to do something like write emails faster, record a meeting and then transcribe it, then create a summary of the in person meeting. Then it can be generating a content for social media. It can be generating content for like different webinars. It can be anything like in the source of like a speeding up what you currently have to achieve more, or to achieve like a KPIs that you currently have. A lot of companies have their own kind of processes that are there and that people like a follow, but they don't have people or personnel in place to actually um, start utilizing or start achieving those KPIs. So that would be my approach. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Okay, we have a couple more minutes before we close out for today. But we have a next question. Let's see how many more we have for today. What are the risks of ethical issues we should watch out for AI? I'm excited about this technology, but I'm worried a bit. Fair, fair. Okay, so I would say like this: any risk with the completely new technology comes from us at the beginning. These technology have their own inherent problems, and I'm gonna tell you about them right now. But first, think about, in most cases, not most, all the cases right now, at the time of this live, any place where you have AI, human decided to put them there, right? You don't have any place in the world where AI decided, oh, you should go and put AI there, or I'm gonna do it myself. So even if you have a full decision making automated in certain step, human decided to put it there. Okay, so AI is not perfect. We are just promoting it to be as perfect as possible because we want to justify the investment. But the thing about this is AI is also driven by human, like a need and greed to be a certain place where they are not right now. So from that position, you have all the humans in the world making currently decision to do AI implementation. So just take that into perspective when you are using AI or thinking about integrating AI in any place inside of your company. Okay. And that is where the risk begins. You're exposing certain process, you're exposing certain people, you're exposing certain businesses. So every single AI solution relies only and heavily on data. These systems cannot learn on their own. They can in some degree, but they need data. Okay? If your data is bad, biased, problematic, dirty, it will replicate all of these inside of the AI. That becomes your risk. If you have bias inside of your AI algorithm, which means that AI is more inclined to give you a certain prediction over the other, for example, if you train on the Western generated data, you will have Western preferred answers versus the other side. Okay, so versus the Eastern cultures. So when you have all of that in place, the bias becomes one of the issue. So if you're trying to reach the Eastern audiences, but you have that you are biased toward the Eastern, to the Western cultures, they are not the best audience to use your AI. Okay, then data security. If you're certain industry in certain industry, or you have a lot of information from your customers that are private and that are sensitive, you should be really careful about exposing that information to any commercially grade AI, especially if you are not certain who owns the algorithm, what is the data, what is the agenda behind this company, and so on. So always be careful where you are exposing the data from your user or from yourself internally. Um, that becomes like a data privacy issue as well. So all of these can expose certain information that you didn't want to, and that's a risk. Okay, and of course, the consistency of AI. You need to have safety nets. Safety nets meaning if AI fails to give you good prediction, what's going to happen if that happens? So what is the scenario if you are missing a certain prediction? Well, or the prediction was wrong based on not correct data. So I would say like this: that is something that you need to think about way before, to have these checks in place before you think about exposing all decisions and giving all decisions to these AI systems. Um, each AI system, no matter how perfect it is a stochastic algorithm. You cannot make it to be 100% consistent. If you're expecting it to give 100% of the cases every single time the same response, you won't get it. So it will vary from time to time. It might follow some templates, some rules from time to time, and maybe most of the times, like 99% of the cases. But plan for the case of 1% where that won't be correct. And you will expose your users to something that AI potentially messed up. So you need to have a fallback option, or as I call it, safety net, to resolve these solutions if that happens. Okay, so that's how I would think about this. Yeah, you're great to be cautious about this. Thank you so much for being cautious, because that is the right approach with any technology, especially with AI, when it's as stochastic as it is. Thanks. Okay. Uh, okay, we have for one more question, and then we can go. We have a difficult one. Will AI replace jobs in our organization? A lot of my team is worried about that. I don't know from which team you're coming from, but let's say like this: AI will definitely disrupt any job that there is right now. When I say disrupt, I mean it will change the way we work with it. It can be completely changed. So the process of achieving the certain goal will completely shift, or it will like a change a certain parts of it. So you will do certain parts of the job in a different way. Now, will it replace you and your teammates? Depends on how repetitive your job is and how much you can achieve with AI and less people. So, if the output of your current team is, let's say, 100 questions answered per day, and then you have two people with AI that answer the same amount of questions per day, and the 100 question is okay and sweet spot, right? Then people will decrease amount of personnel in this team. In this case, was the customer support. But if the KPI was constantly a target of having maybe 500 questions answered per day, which was the sweet spot, but because of personnel, like a lack of personnel, you are still reaching 100 questions per day. With AI, you might reach 500. Nobody will lose their job because you're just enhancing your ability to reach that goal. So always comes down to what is the value and how you're measuring the success in these cases. Um, it is difficult to generalize on all the things that is currently happening on the market. AI will definitely disrupt all, most if not all, jobs, and definitely people will need to adapt to the new reality, whatever that might be. My suggestion is always learning how to use this technology, learning how to use new tools, new things, learning about adjacent skills. So don't rely only on one skill. If you know how to program, learn art, learn philosophy, learn something that you can combine to give a certain perspective that AI cannot give right now. Execution will be disrupted by AI, but what and why AI will not change right now. Okay. So that's my suggestion. And if you follow this, you will be okay. Yeah. And yeah, I would say go step by step. Nobody knows where the whole thing will go. That's why I am extremely cautious when I'm giving any type of suggestion regarding this topic. Uh, Learn new things. Yeah, I can say try not to be. I can't say try not to be anxious about this because that's not realistic. So just start by learning new things, learn about this technology, and start utilizing it as soon as possible as a part of your job. And that's it. Yeah, cool. Okay, that's it for today. We have a couple of more questions, but we will leave them for the next week. Um, Thank you so much for joining in to today. Um, if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments or in the groups or in the personal groups, depending on where you're coming from. And yeah, we'll address them as soon as we come back live. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week.